What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with another planet from Gustav Holst. Indeed, we're working our way through the planets into the last three now. And I figured I was maybe saying we might do Mercury first, whatever, but we're really going to do Venus. I feel like following such a harsh and brutal and devastating piece as is the movement Mars, the Bringer of War, doing Venus, the Bringer of Peace would be a good follow-up and a good riposte. Though I again do have to mention, I think this particular movement in the work exemplifies most clearly what I was saying when I started, which is Venus, the planet, the actual astronomical body that is out in our solar system, is a very inhospitable place for anything living. As Carl Sagan once said, even living things very different from us, organic life here on Earth based on carbon molecules, even molecule life based on like silicon molecules or something, like it would be almost impossible under any conception for life to be alive in that cauldron of crushing pressure, insane heat, and corrosive chemicals and gases. So ultimately, the fact that this piece is called the Bringer of Peace fits much more with the historical cultural understanding of Venus as this bright, beautiful star in the sky, when it wasn't actually a star, but it was one of the brightest objects in the sky, always visible in the mornings and the evenings, just around the time the sun was coming up or coming down, which astronomically is because it's inside, its orbit is inside the orbit of the Earth, so it's always like toward the sun as we look at it. Nevertheless, it is a piece which is very calm and serene, and so to me, again, fits much more with the mythological understanding of Venus as this beauty, this unparalleled beauty, this bright, shining, like gleaming object in the sky, or, in a pantheon, not the astronomical place that we now know is essentially a hell pit of fire and doom. Nevertheless, far more than Mordor, I might ask. At least Mordor, you can kind of go around until the eye sees you and then sends some orcs over to kill you. Venus, the moment you enter the atmosphere, you are like getting choked by sulfuric acid and beginning to burn up. So, yes, this is just the reality. Nevertheless, here we go. This is Gustav Holst, as conducted by Adrian Leeper, and performed by the CSR Symphony Orchestra of Bratislava. This is Gustav Holst, Venus, the Bringer of Peace, from his Planets Concerto. About the sound level, sorry. I mentioned it before, my turntables, the way that I was processing the videos is set up to work with the levels of my turntables, but they come in lower than CDs and digital tracks, so I'm just worried I'm gonna like blare out the sound. I like that moment. Perhaps we can see this as the rebuilding of the planet that was blackened and glassed in the cosmic war I was imagining in the Mars reaction. Little blades of grass maybe peeking through the charred soil. A light rain dappling the parched earth. Earth as in ground, not as in the planet. remembered that right as it was about to happen. It's a string phrase of such delight. Still a bit dissonant though, more than I remembered. That solitary violin line is just ridiculously pleasing. Whole section is giving me a very morning feel, which again, perhaps following that Mars piece, it is sort of like a very lightly working its way back to life. Harp, or is there like plucked strings? Bloom, bloom. I'm gonna say plucked strings. Every time that turn of phrase comes in, it just elevates my brain, like my mood, the peace. But I like, again, the way it's not, just bubbly and happy the whole time. There's peace. Perhaps the beginning of a rebuild, but it's the gravity of what's happened is clear. I think there was a quick xylophone sting there. fits with this sort of the struggle to restore triangle, or is it a xylophone? You tell me. Very nice. And again, I do get why in the original configuration this followed Mars, which again, that's partly why originally I was thinking I was going to do Mercury next, but then I was like, you know what, let's do the most serene, the most calming of all the pieces, which incidentally is the way that Holst arranged it originally. I still think it's a weird choice not to do them in the order that they, go from the Sun out to Neptune, but whatever. And it's also, it's a weird thing not to do Earth, but again, I've seen people online, oh, he did an Earth or whatever. He may have done an Earth, I'm not entirely certain about that, but I know that it was not part of the original Planet Suite. I keep calling it Concerto, I think Suite is probably the more accurate name. Nevertheless, like I said, I do get why he followed Mars, bringer of war, with Venus, the bringer of peace. Though again, I'll just make the final time the point that it doesn't really fit with an astronomical interpretation. It fits perfectly with a mythological interpretation. So, nevertheless, there's now two left: Mercury and Saturn. I do want to end with Saturn because I think that's a really cool piece, and it has a very interesting atmosphere. Mercury is sort of sprightly, and perhaps because it's a piece that I think fits with both interpretations, mythological and astronomical, because Mercury does have the fastest revolution in terms of transiting its orbit around the Sun. It orbits at a very rapid speed relative to Earth. And also, it was the winged messenger in mythology, moved about very quickly and was relied upon to transmit information rapidly. So, I do think that piece kind of works with either interpretation. So we'll do that one, and then we'll finish off with Saturn. Hopefully you're enjoying this. Let me know if you have any comments about the conduction of Adrian Leeper or the playing of the CSR Symphony Orchestra. As I said, I don't have different versions of these pieces in my head. At least Beethoven's Seventh is different. I've heard a couple of different versions of Beethoven's Seventh, and then I've heard them enough times that I can kind of remember oh, this conductor's version, the Klemperer version of the Seventh is a little bit different than the Karl Baum version of the Seventh that I reacted to on the Deutsche Grammophon vinyl. So, but I haven't heard enough versions of the planets, different versions enough times to really have a solid opinion about a particular performance. But let me know if you do. Let me know if one of the planets so far is your favorite by far, or if one of the two that I've yet to get to is one of your favorite. I'd love to hear it. Thank you for those who are watching, or thank you to those who are watching these classical reactions. I really appreciate it. I mentioned it before. I've been listening to classical music as long, if not longer, than anything else. Even than British synth pop, it came into my brain very early on as well. But yeah, like I said, thank you for those watching the classical reactions. Let me know if you have a request. For those of you who have made a couple requests, believe me, the first movement of the Eroica is on its way, and Bruckner's Seventh will come after that. So hopefully you're here for it. Anyway, have a good day, have a good night. I'll see you next time. Peace.